Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, I started Alien Earth. At the time I'm recording this, it's August 13th, but this is so it literally just came out yesterday, or on Hulu anyway. Which I got lucky with. I had to pause Hulu and I had to wait around for something to be able to unpause it, and then I was able to thankfully unpause it today. So and then I was like, okay, I gotta watch this movie because I'd been really hyped about this series, and something happened. I was like, damn, I'm not gonna be able to make it to it in time. But this is gonna, I think, get posted September 1st or something. By the time this gets posted, the whole series, no, I don't think the whole thing is going to be out. I don't know how long it's going to be. It is kind of weird with Hulu, though, where they'll have, the first 2 episodes are out at the time recording this, but it already has, the descriptions and titles for, the dates of when the next couple episodes are coming out. I'm glad the descriptions are super vague. There's no, thumbnails, really, of, what the other ones are. I really appreciate that because they're not spoiled by anything. But yeah, the first 2 episodes are out. I decided I'm going to be doing these reviews 1 episode at a time. I think that's just kind of easier for me, because these are not just because these are episodes where it's an hour long, and that's a lot of content. It's just there's so many things going on. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I'm I think just because it's a TV format, I'm so used to with the movies. I know there's media in this series besides the movies. You got all the Predator stuff, and there's comics and games and books and all kinds of things or whatever. I don't know if I'll venture into any of those, but I'm so used to at least the movies, where you usually have a crew, and there's a xenomorph, and it's that claustrophobic kind of spooky feel. I mean, not all of them are like that. Prometheus is more of science-y and stuff, or there's ones Covenant where they're on a planet, they're not really in a ship or anything. But with this one, it starts out pretty much the same as the original Alien, but there's multiple stories going on at once, and things that's kind of bouncing between two. I don't know how I feel about it. I took some notes. I don't know if I'm gonna address all of them. I'm also, if my voice is, I'm hearing myself and I feel I sound kind of weird. I'm recording this at 10 p.m. I'm very tired. Okay, no, let me give a plot description before I get into my notes. So there's it starts off with this ship, and it's carrying this cargo, but it's not anything related to xenomorphs. The whole thing with this is it's a bunch of other different kinds of aliens and stuff. And it's supposed to be a series, I think, explains about how Weyland-Yutani knew about the aliens before Alien, because this is apparently supposed to take place 2 years before the first Alien movie, which I had to Google that because at first I was why is the set design of some stuff so familiar if it takes place before Alien? Because Prometheus and Covenant looked are also prequels, but they looked super futuristic and stuff. But apparently those aren't supposed to be canon to this show. I don't know where in the timeline or what's canon, what's not canon this show's supposed to fall into, but it's this crew, they're transporting these creatures, and then it ends up crashing on Earth. I think that's why it's called Alien Earth. I thought this was gonna be the aliens somehow get to Earth themselves or whatever, and there's this whole hype of it being Earth, but I don't know. I mean, it's only been the first episode. I'm curious to see how exactly that's going to play out. Because I feel if, the aliens and stuff did get to Earth, humanity would just die. But the main characters of it are actually hybrids, because they have this thing now where it isn't just, the synthetics and stuff. There's also cyborgs, so it's just, people with, mechanical enhancements and stuff. And there's hybrids now, which is kind of interesting but also kind of morally messed up, where it's like humans and it's supposedly like they're downloaded into synthetic bodies. I mean, I guess that makes them different enough from cyborgs, instead of being like mostly human or whatever. They like physically they're just fully synthetic. I thought it was just like, are they similar enough? They're like humans inside of like robots now, but apparently they have to have things like simulated for that. Like, it's kind of like, oh yeah, they're humans with like superpowers, but it's also that, and their personalities are still human, but their emotions are kind of weird because they don't have like hormones, and there's like other stuff. It's kind of weird, kind of interesting. But that's actually like our group of main characters, and they're also children but also not children. Okay, I'm gonna start explaining stuff. So it starts off pretty much like the original. It kind of almost shot for shot, actually. It kind of threw me off, of like this crew. Like I mentioned, they're not the hybrids or anything. They're just like humans, and there's a cyborg with them, and I think also a synthetic, and they're like one of those science observation ships, basically the same as like the ship from the original Alien, where they're basically like space truck drivers that are transporting stuff. But this time, like, they know they're transporting like alien creatures. They're doing it on purpose. And the ship set looks really good. Like, that's why I was confused at first. I'm like, why does it look just like Alien? But it's 2 years before, and with it being like the same kind of like ship model and everything, and they like really nail it. It was like throwing me off, actually. Even like the order of some of the scenes, where they have, it starts off where it's like shots of the ship, and then everyone wakes up from their pods, and they're all in the kitchen chatting. Even like the lighting of it and everything, everyone's like, or not everyone, I think like a couple of the characters are smoking. Whatever it's called, the room that usually has Mother in it, it's like a big computer room, that looks identical and everything. It was actually kind of cool. It just threw me off at first. And then there's like this plot excuse thing of like, oh, this character included in this crew didn't do their social studies homework or whatever, and it's the excuse to give us a bunch of exposition that we're not just dealing with Weyland-Yutani anymore. There's like 4 or 5 companies now. I don't really remember the names of any of them, but one of them is mentioned like, oh yeah, there's a new one. They entirely deal with like synths and AI, and it's run by like the youngest billionaire ever, who I already don't like this character. He looks like he's like 20 and probably shouldn't be in charge of a multimedia company. And also when we first meet him, he's kind of weird. He does this thing where he like tries to introduce himself in multiple languages, but it kind of comes off as cringe. But actually the first thing that even happens with this is it has these there's like definitions on the screen of like the difference between like synths, cyborgs, and hybrids. I thought that was a good thing to start off with, because otherwise I would have been so confused. And then they introduced the whole thing of like the kids being turned into synthetics, because I was like really confused about that from the trailers. It's basically like there's this billionaire guy, and he's secretly like downloading humans into synthetic bodies, and it's supposed to be like a secret thing because the kids aren't supposed to tell anybody. Like the main character, her name's Wendy. She's, because it's this whole theming with like Peter Pan too, which is kind of interesting, but kind of feels a little too on the nose. Like the place, the research center, it's called Neverland, and the first kid that they put into a synthetic decides to rename herself Wendy. I think her name was originally Marcy, and it wasn't even anything to do with like Peter Japan or anything that this character's name is Wendy. It's just she just looks at the body she's going to be put into and like, yeah, this person looks like a Wendy. So it's like, it's these terminally ill kids, they're put in these adult synthetic bodies. It just feels so weird. Like, plot ways, they try to explain some stuff with it. Like, apparently, because I'm like, why are they putting kids in there? Like, I get they're terminally ill, if they're raising them as like super soldiers or whatever, but it's supposed to be that the synthetic bodies can't grow. I didn't even think about that because I'm so used to like every other synthetic character we've ever met is already like a fully grown adult. I mean, not just like physically, but like mentally you can like tell, yeah, that's an adult. Which that's probably weird for the synthetics too. Like, you're born, but you're born an adult. Like, you don't get a childhood or anything. But this time it's like children, like human children, and now it's like they're being put into an adult body. But they can't do it with adults, because the adult brains are described as like too firm or whatever to be put inside of robots. I don't know if I believe that, but sure, I guess. But yeah, that's gotta be so weird for the kids. Like, it's already gotta be scary to be like, you're being put, like, imagine you die and you get put into a new body, but like, you know you're gonna die. Like, they literally treat it like they're dying too. Like, they give the kids, I mean, the kids are told like, yeah, you're gonna be put to sleep and you're gonna be put in this body. Like, Wendy, I'm still thinking about it when she first sees the synthetic body on the table, and it's creepy. It doesn't look like a corpse or anything, it just looks someone that's asleep, but like the synthetics look so human. And just the fact that we've seen them, like, when they're sentient and stuff, and they're, like, people. So to see one just kind of on the ground like that and know, like, there isn't any life inside of it, and it's basically just, like, a vessel for these humans feels kind of weird. But then they're also being turned into adults and put into a body that's, like, not organic or anything. Because, like, the one cyborg we do see before any of this happens, I mean, he's kind of called out for being a cyborg. It's interesting because he, you know, acts completely human because he is. He just has, like, mechanical stuff, which includes kind of, like, Terminator type, like, shape-shifting stuff. It's kind of weird. I'm interested in this character. I think his name is Morrow. I just feel bad for these kids if they, you know, they're gonna have to interact with humans. That already kind of happened or is set up to happen for like the second episode. They go to Earth and they become like a search and rescue group. Like all this, yeah, pretty much all the synthetics I think we see get like bullied and stuff by humans for being synthetic. Even like at the beginning of this series too, when I mentioned that crew, the captain is a cyborg. He's not as treated as bad as like actual synthetics, but there is a synthetic, which I didn't even like, they don't refer to that character as a synthetic, but just the way they're talking about him and to him is like the exact same way where I'm like, yeah, this character is pretty much a synthetic. And the kids will have to probably go through that too. And the scientists, it's also creepy. They're so chill with it. Like, I get that the kids are an experiment to them and stuff. Like Wendy, she's kind of a weird character too. Like when she gets switched into the synthetic body, like she comments about like having breasts or whatever, because it's like, yeah, you're being put into an adult body. And then as soon as she's turned into a synthetic, the like one of the people for the company, or like one of the scientist people who I think is also a synthetic. I'm not sure, because there's a point where he's talking about like humans and how they get eaten by animals, and I'm like, that's totally something a synthetic would say. And also like humans don't refer to themselves or like as humans in like a third person sort of way. Comments of like, oh, she's not a human anymore, and like Wendy's sitting right there. I mean, besides the fact that they're test subjects, and you know, of course this company is going to view them as like, okay, these are like soldiers that don't have any rights or whatever, but also like they're just they still have their human minds and stuff, so it's kind of weird. I was wondering how old the main character is supposed to be too. Like before she gets put into a body and becomes Wendy, like when she's still Marcy, she looks like she's in her teens maybe, but like acts a bit younger. And then she's kind of weird when she gets put into a synthetic, where it's like she just kind of immediately acts like an adult, but also is still very like childlike, of sometimes kind of like spinning around or things she doesn't know about. It's kind of creepy to watch, but then there's like all these other kids that show up, and we see them, they look like they're somewhere between like 10 and 12. I guess it makes sense with the Peter Pan thing, where like Wendy's supposed to be like exiting childhood or whatever, like in the story of Peter Pan, I mean, and then becoming like this mother figure, big sister type to the lost kids who are like also kids but younger. I guess it's probably supposed to be like that, but like the other kids, they're like when they become synthetics, they still like act like children, like their personalities are still the same and everything. And we also learn a lot of other weird stuff about it, where it's like they don't have hormones anymore, so they have to have puberty like simulated for them, which I'm glad. I was worried it was like, okay, they're getting put into adult bodies and like maybe their mind would suddenly have to shift to or whatever, but instead it's like puberty is simulated so they can like grow into their bodies. They're not immediately expected to act like adults or anything. But their emotions are described as having to be simulated too, because they don't have the hormones for like moods anymore or something. But it also feels kind of weird because I keep thinking about like actual synthetics we've seen, not like hybrids or whatever, where it's like, okay, yeah, their emotions and everything about them is simulated too, but like they seem so human-like and stuff, and the decisions they make, I don't know, it feels weird, where it's like I always really like the synthetic characters in this series. I find them interesting and how they're treated and stuff. And I was bummed when I found out this series was like, I mean, from the trailer, I don't remember them being called hybrids or something, where I'm like, okay, they're having every character is a synthetic now, which I'm like, how are they gonna fight xenomorphs? And then like, oh, they're just humans inside of synthetics. I was bummed because I'm like, damn, we're not getting like an actual synthetic character this time around. And they're supposed to like work for the company that made their bodies and stuff. Like they're not able to go home. Like Wendy's whole thing is she has an older brother who's like a medic on Earth, and it's supposed to kind of kickstart like the next episode's plot and stuff of her brother being told that she's dead, which that's like technically true. It was basically treated like, yeah, they're dying when they get put in synthetics. I mean, their human bodies do literally just die at that point, but of course he doesn't know that his younger sister is like inside of a robot now and still just around. And there's the ship from the beginning, it crashes onto Earth, and the medic brother has to like go and help out with that. I don't know, it's weird. They send like this huge spaceship crashes that has like creatures as the cargo, and they send one medic. It's like him and his like little team, or it might just have been him, but that's like so weird to just send like one guy. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself though. What else is with my notes? This is like kind of more of a recap than commentary, but kind of helping me with my thoughts a bit. I want to talk about the cyborg guy. Yeah, I think his name is Morrow. He's the science officer of whatever the ship is that crashes, which we see like little glimpses of it every once in a while. I hope we get more flashbacks and stuff as the series goes on of like what happened to it, like right before it crashed or anything. I guess all the science officers are kind of, or most of them are kind of messed up and like super loyal to the company, no matter if they're like human or an android or not. Like I first thought like, oh yeah, it's probably because most of them are androids. They know the mission and they're like loyal to the company, even if they like reprogrammed like Andy to be loyal to the company. And this guy's a cyborg, so he still has like a human mind, but he acts like super cold towards his other crewmates. Like there's this part, it's almost comedic actually. I felt bad laughing at it, where he's kind of just humming and he goes in the room with Mother and is told to prioritize the cargo first, and he's asked like if the crew is dead or like what's the crew's status, and there's this woman on the other side of the door who's like banging for help because there's like a creature roaming around. And the guy I mentioned about like Terminator shape-shifting, I think it's the second movie where there's like the metal guy and he like transforms into shit. I always thought that was so cool. But Morrow like turns his arm into metal and it becomes a whatever it is, the tool you use to like seal up doors. He like seals her out with the monster and then reports the crew is dead. And then there's like a secret room under the floor and he just goes to hide in it, and he's like as calm as can be and screws over this crew. I felt bad for the other ones in there, and then he ends up fine even after the crash because he like had a place to hide in, and he starts taking people like hostage inside the remains of the ship and whatever. Oh yeah, the Ice Age movies exist in this universe. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, we have references in the other movies, even if I think back to like Prometheus or whatever, of like things from our era and stuff. Like I remember Prometheus starts out with like David watching Lawrence of Arabia, which ever since I saw that scene, I thought, I probably should just check out this movie at some point, even though it's like 4 hours long, and I never did. But no, this movie instead has Ice Age, but for some reason it feels kind of like less. I mean, I think with the Lawrence of Arabia thing, it had to do with the plot and David's character and stuff, and I think it was also the reason why he was blonde. So I feel like it sort of made sense. It like didn't feel out of place. But then having Ice Age in this movie has nothing to do with this plot, or maybe Ice Age will be important. I don't know. But no, there's a part where the kids are all watching Ice Age. It I don't know, it just threw me off because like I watched Ice Age as a kid too, and in my brain I know it's probably from like the early 2000s or whatever. It's weird seeing it like it's a movie from the future and they're watching something from like 20 years ago in our time and stuff. What was I gonna say about that? Like Ice Age being implied to be so culturally relevant, and like it's part of Wendy's human childhood too, where we see like flashbacks of her as a baby watching Ice Age with her brother. There's this one shot that was kind of funny to me. It's like there's like these crossfades and stuff where it's like the start of a new scene, but like Sid is still kind of on the screen, Sid from Ice Age. I was reading, and apparently Ice Age is also in the second episode. I haven't started that yet, but that's just kind of funny to me. We'll see, I guess, as it goes on, if Ice Age has any themes that are important to this movie. Maybe it just made me feel old. I don't know, just seeing it in there. Because it like plays out for a while too. It isn't even the first Ice Age movie. I think it's Is it Continental Drift? It's the one where there's like pirates and there's like a monkey or somebody's like the leader or whatever. I think that's probably like the third Ice Age movie or something. I don't know how many of those things are out at this point, but that's just funny. They didn't even have like the original Ice Age. I think it just threw me off. I don't know. I mean, this is also a series that's like exclusively being put on Hulu, which I think Hulu's gonna stop existing soon and get like merged with Disney Plus or something. So I feel like it was more in there for that and not anything to do with the plot. But I'm glad the robot kids, I guess, they get to like still do kid stuff. Even though they're like test subjects on this like secret island or whatever, like they got to watch Ice Age. Wendy's room has all of these, like a billion plushies in there and stuff. The kids are allowed to like interact and hang out and whatever, but they do get tests for things. And then she sees footage of her brother and like what's going on Earth, and she volunteers to rescue him, or not to rescue him, but like to be like a search and rescue thing. She wants to see him, which I get that, but like she doesn't talk to the other kids about it. She just goes up to the billionaire guy and is like, yeah, we're strong enough to handle it, you build us so we don't break. Like that's incredibly brave of her, to be that young and be like, yeah, we're gonna like go into this danger. But the fact that she like volunteers all the other kids too and then goes to tell them about it, I'm like, you couldn't ask if they wanted to. And they're like younger than her too, like they're more mentally kind of like children. So to just be like, yeah, we're gonna just go into this mission on Earth with this crash ship. I mean, none of them know about like the creatures in there and stuff. They're kind of kept away from like the politics of these companies and stuff, which I'm also curious about those, how it's going to work out. I wonder if something is going to happen to this specific company that makes like the synths and AI and whatever, because we don't, I mean, I know there's something made for the show, so it's not like we could have heard about them from the movies, but just the introduction of like a bunch of other companies, and it's like, when it's like a prequel, they introduce new things, and of course they're not things in the sequels, but it makes you think like, why didn't we hear about these like in universe? And it's usually because like something goes wrong or someone dies or something just stops existing. I'm like, does something happen to these companies? And that's why we only ever hear of Weyland-Yutani, to the point where Weyland-Yutani is literally referred to as like the company in the Alien movies and stuff. Or like eventually they'll get, actually I don't even know if they do like synth stuff too in this series, because like we know eventually they do, like there's a synth as a science officer in like every single Alien movie pretty much. I was going to say like, oh yeah, we know they do that as well, but then I remembered that Prometheus and Covenant, the two other sequels that also focus on, prequels that also focus on synths, just aren't a thing in this show, so that didn't happen. But yeah, it's like an hour-long start to this series. I mean, I know it's only the first episode. You can't really judge a whole series on that. I feel kind of mixed. There's some stuff that I think is kind of interesting. Like the horror vibes, they get it right. I'm glad. It does feel like spooky and claustrophobic. I'm just so used to having that be the whole thing rather than just little pieces that I keep getting thrown off when it cuts to like the kids at the research lab and like everything's fine there, or like we see people running around on Earth or whatever. But it's Alien. It has to get like more spooky as it goes on. But I also feel bad for the main characters, because they're gonna probably have to fight aliens at some point, and it's like, yeah, they're in synthetic bodies where they basically have like super strength and stuff, but they're still kids. Like we see with human characters in Alien and like how traumatizing it is and stressful to like fight these things, and like all the other characters we've seen for that are adults. even the ones that are like marine soldiers and stuff that are like prepared for this sort of thing, or ones that have like experience with space travel, get like freaked out and die easily and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how that's gonna go. Like, it was even stressful for me watching Romulus, where all the main characters were like aged down to be like in their 20s or whatever, because they're supposed to be like war orphans. And I thought, like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing and stuff. And now it's like, okay, we're gonna go send a bunch of kids, like actual kids, to go fight like aliens. I mean, maybe they won't have to, maybe they're not having to escape them and whatever, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's all right. The second episode's out already. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. I don't know how often I'll post these either. I'll have them mixed in with whatever else is set for September. I think Deltarune. Yeah. All right. We'll see how the next episode goes. Excited to see some like xenomorphs, because I was kind of confused with, I feel like the creature designs are kind of hard for me to see. There's ones that are like kind of look like bugs and spiders and things, but they're going around killing people already. All right, bye bye.